So the question we are asking this morning, just how safe are South African buildings, and how do we know if they are a fire hazard?
Well, TC Chetty is from the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. He joins us now from our Durban studio. TC, a very good morning to you. And I suppose, yes, to answer that question is, how do we know if the building we're working in, the building we're living in, or where we send our children to school is actually a fire hazard?
Morning, Dan. Morning, Yuveka. Very valid questions. I mean, and I think that's one of the reasons that the organization that I'm with, the RICS, is really joined the coalition at a global level, the International Fire Safety Standards Coalition, which is made up of more than 30 global organizations that are responsible for fire safety issues, standards, and setting standards. Because particularly after June 2017 with the Grenfell Tower fire in the United Kingdom, the whole issue of fire safety in buildings became one that became very important to look at. Because it's not just something unique to South Africa, as much as we have fire regulations here, but the issue is around the world is how does one manage fire safety in these buildings. It's about materials, it's about fire safety equipment, so it's not just also about development of buildings, but it's about the issue of how these buildings are managed going forward. And you have this problem particularly when you come to older buildings, CBD buildings in South Africa, and issues around maintenance, but also updating fire safety mechanisms, fire safety compliance, and meeting standards as they improve. So it's been an ongoing issue, and that's why there's a look now at a global level to try and standardize issues around fire safety, so that wherever you are in the world, there are minimum standards of professional due diligence, for want of a better phrase, that would be required in order to be able to ensure that buildings are safe.
Now, TC, you speak about minimum requirements to ensure that buildings are safe from fire hazards. What are the basics here? I mean, there must be things that are really basic that must be done. I would guess one of them is regular maintenance of your fire equipment and your fire escape exits, for example.
Correct. I think it's about design, and I think, you know, obviously design can always be improved, but at a more basic level, very much so, it's about ensuring that equipment is there for a start, that equipment is serviced regularly, that you know, the sprinkler systems are upgraded and made sure that they can be sure to be in working order. Things like smoke is a big issue, and to ensure that your ventilation and smoke extraction systems are working and are in place and are correctly designed to be able to ensure that people within those working environments are safe. And it also comes down to things like the number of people in a building. You know, sometimes buildings are designed for a certain number of people, but more people are put into them. So that's an issue that puts pressure on the equipment, but also on things like escape routes that can't handle the number of people. So those have to be designed to accommodate the number of people. So it's a variety of things.
TC, in a building like this, where we have like 24 floors, we have different departments that are working out of that building, ultimately, whose responsibility is it to make sure that everything that you've mentioned, that all of those things are in place? I mean, we have unions, we have organizations like Denosa, like Nehau, telling us that they had complained about the state of this building, that their staff members were actually getting sick and with fungal infections and things like that. Now, who would we hold responsible for something like this, for not doing what needed to be done in that building?
Well, again, I think, you know, it's difficult to point the finger, and I don't necessarily think one wants to do that. It's really about coordination between the people and the departments that are within the building, the landlord, if there is one. I'm not sure who the building is owned by, but it's a combination of the landlord and the occupiers. In the end, the occupier has got to be satisfied that their people are safe in a particular building, whether it's a leased building or an owned building. And I think, you know, that's where the minimum safety standards come in, because if everybody understands the standards, then I think at the end of the day, it's the occupier that needs to ensure that the standards are met before they occupy the building, and that the landlord or the owner of the building delivers to those standards. So I think that's really the stage one wants to get to. is to ensure that the occupier is happy to be in that building, and that at the end of the day, the people that are employed, the people that work in those buildings are able to be safe, so that accidents or incidents like as just happened here, and even things like the Grenfell Tower in the UK, can be prevented.
Thank you very much. TC Chetty from the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, live to us there from Durban, just about the efforts that are going on globally to standardize how we ensure that the fire hazards in big buildings is managed properly.